We begin by seeing a group of university students protesting for health insurance. They demanded that insurance should be provided to the janitors. Such a group staged a hunger strike to show the importance of what they sought, and they demanded that their janitors be treated fairly and would not eat until that happened. A professor was seen explaining female circumcision to the group of students in a class. She told them that the best word to describe what 2 million girls go through each year is female genital mutilation. She added that some cultures use blades, but the mutilation is mainly carried out with shards of glass, the lid of a can, or a sharp stone. As she explained, she showed students images of what she was talking about, but the students felt irritated by this. She continued explaining that once the clitoris or external female genitalia was removed, the girl would be stitched up and would then be bedridden for 40 days while the wound heals, but she added that the wound may not heal at all. Kenzie asked the professor why genital mutilation is performed, and she replied saying that the village would not consider them women if they did not go through such a procedure. After class, Ayahan invited Justine to an activist group called the Activist Change Team. He told her that it was Alejandro, the group leader, who asked to invite her, but Justine declined the invitation. She said she wasn't interested in that sort of thing. He also invited her to the school's celebration that was providing health insurance for the janitors. Justine told him she would think about it. The boy made a joke telling her not to think but to act. Justine had lunch with her father, and she told him about female genital mutilation and asked why it couldn't be stopped. Her father works for the United Nations and told her that they cannot just invade a country just because they do something that is illegal or immoral. He asked about her necklace and reminded her of her mother, who received it from her grandmother Silva. He told her to keep it safe because it was special for her mother. Kenzie was also at lunch with them. At the Activist Change Team meeting, Alejandro asked the members if they had always fantasized about saving a dying village and protecting them from invading civilization. Alejandro told them that their fantasy would soon become reality. He said that a company wants the natural gas underneath the land in a jungle in the Peruvian Amazon and they would destroy the jungle and also the people living there. Justine curiously asked about their plans to save the people. She asked if they would just march into the jungle and let them starve. Alejandro noticed she was a new member. He added that only a new member could speak with such insolence and told her to leave the room. She apologized to him, but he insisted that she leave. Ayahan ran after her to tell Justine that Alejandro takes his social work seriously and said he would talk to him, but Justine told him not to worry. Later, Justine couldn't sleep peacefully, so she took her necklace and stared at it all night while thinking about what Alejandro had said. Justine met Alejandro the next morning to apologize for her behavior. Alejandro told her that her apology was obvious and that she said it intentionally. He told her he only needs people who take making an impact seriously and not making jokes. She asked for another chance to show him that she was serious. He then asked her what was so important to her and what kept her up at night. Justine told him that women's rights in Africa kept her awake. Alejandro then asked how she would go to Africa and tell a village that female genital mutilation was wrong. Alejandro joked about her organizing a group, heading to Africa, and getting media attention that she would record something right or wrong. Justine told him to teach her how to do that. Alejandro told her that her intentions were pure, but she wasn't ready. Justine told him to let her prove she was ready. In the next scene, we see the team planning how to save the villagers. Cara, Alejandro's girlfriend, told the group they would leave on Saturday and arrive there before the company. Justine arrived at the meeting late but defended herself by saying she went to the wrong address. She asked about the person sponsoring the development. Alejandro told them it was a private corporation in Peru. He also told them they had high-ranking ex-military personnel to protect them and kill the natives. A group member asked how they would confront a private military force with their phones. Alejandro said the plan is to scare them and call the attention of the Peruvian government. Another member asked how they should transmit from the jungle. Alejandro also told them they had a satellite, and the team would have access to it. He also said they had 15 ready-to-transmit locations and a lot of followers to see when they uploaded the content. Cara warned Justine to be careful and asked if she was ready for the mission. Justine told Kenzie about the plan, although she thought it was crazy and said the army would kill them and bury their bodies. Justine told her she would then watch the execution live because they would be broadcasting everything. Kenzie told her that there was no way the situation wouldn't turn violent if the workers found out they were hindering their development. Kenzie then asked what her father would think about it. Later, Justine tells her father that the mission was a school trip and that she would be safe. He told her that Peru is a very dangerous country. Justine left her dorm and also took her necklace with her. Kenzie said she knew she was 100% wrong and asked her to stay safe. They hugged, and Justine said goodbye. Hours later, the group flew to Peru, and upon their arrival, Alejandro introduced them to the sponsor Carlos. He told them that Carlos had made the dream come true. Justine thought it was strange that Carlos was the one paying for everything. They traveled through Peru by motorcycle, and when they reached their destination, Alejandro told them to film no matter what happens. He said that their phones were their weapons. One member suggested they should also get guns since the army would have theirs, but Alejandro emphasized that their phones were their weapons. He told them to calm down and also said that if they shot one of them, they would have to kill them all. The members were scared when he said that. He told them that no one forced them to join, and if anyone wanted to back out, they could, but no one agreed to leave. Later they took a boat into the jungle and stopped halfway for Justine and Lars to urinate. They received supplies and weapons to use against snakes. The young woman arrived first, and soon Lars returned saying a tarantula almost bit his private part. After that, they continued the journey. As they approached the jungle, everyone was scared. They got off the boat and headed into the jungle. They all changed into construction gear and helmets. They walked quietly through the jungle until they reached where the workers were. They donned masks and tied themselves to the trees and machines. Justine had a malfunction with the latch, and it didn't work. She called for Kara to help, but she ignored her. There was an explosion, and they began to scream saying this is the home of UJ, and to leave nature alone. They were filming the incident while shouting. It didn't take long for the army to surround them and begin trying to get them out of the chains. When one of the militia members approached Justine, he untied her from the tree and forced her to kneel. Her mask was removed, although she screamed for help to Alejandro. He told the rest not to stop filming. A gun was pointed at her head, and Alejandro continued talking while filming, telling the world that the army was trying to kill a girl whose father works for the United Nations. It wasn't long before the leader received a call and then ordered everyone to lower their weapons. The soldiers arrested them, but Carlos bribed them to be released. Then, moments later, the group departed by airplane and celebrated their victory. As they left, Justine later deduced that Alejandro had used her as bait because of her father's occupation. When Justine confronted him for doing this, he told her that she begged to join and he had to create a role for her. He told her to celebrate for being the heroine of their victory. Suddenly, the engine of their plane exploded. The explosion causes panic and consequently the crash of the aircraft. After the accident that left many injured, the survivors realized that some members died, including Carlos. Alejandro told them to remain calm, as panic wouldn't solve the problem. He told them to look for their GPS. They noticed that the place seemed the same and that they could get lost. Kara heard a voice and thought they could get help from the person, but she was killed before the rest could reach her. The enemy people calmed the entire group and took them to their camp. The natives were painted red all over their bodies. They tortured them by pulling their hair and tattooing them. The tribe leader approached the group and ordered to imprison almost everyone, but unfortunately, Ayahan, quite weak, was placed on an altar and was stabbed in the eye by the tribe leader. The creepy elder ate the man's eye, leaving the group shocked by the scene. She then fed her natives with the remains of Ayahan's body. They cooked his body and ate it. Alejandro told the group that he thought the members were their enemies and that there was nothing they could do. One of the members fell ill and had no choice but to use the bathroom in a corner. The natives laughed at her while she did this. Later, Alejandro told the group that the best option was to stay with the natives. He added that things would have been better if they hadn't blown up the tractors. He also said that their protest did not stop anything, only delayed the process by a day or two when that more tractors were on the way. He said what they did was called a PR stunt. He further explained that Carlos was hired by a competing company to prevent them from reaching the village first, and that was what they were doing. Carlos is paid, and their organization would not have worldwide recognition. He added that more people would join them later, and that way they could make real changes. He said that the other company was already on its way and that the natives had no chance. He told Justine to wake up and that this is how the real world works. He also said their plane could have been sabotaged to kill Carlos. Alejandro also said the competing company would be there in 3 days and that all they had to do was stay calm and not irritate the natives. Samantha tried to escape but was calmed down before she could. In the morning, the natives took Justine, Samantha, and her girlfriend Amy to test their purity. The native leader did this by inserting his long finger into their private parts. Justine was considered a virgin. This caused her to be taken for female genital mutilation while the couples were returned. The team tried to escape by distracting the guards. Samantha sneaked away and hid inside the canoe. Justine was returned to prison but said she couldn't remember what they did to her. The natives later gave them an unknown meat to eat. They had no choice but to eat, as they needed energy to escape. Amy, being vegan, reluctantly ate the meat. After eating, she found a piece of skin with Samantha's tattoo in her bowl, discovering that they were being fed with Samantha's body. She broke the bowl and used a piece to commit suicide. Lars saw this as an opportunity to get the natives high with marijuana, putting it in Amy's body. The cannibals ate the infected meat, and hours later, Lars' plan worked. Justine and Daniel seized the chance to escape, but Alejandro calmed Lars before he could escape. He said he couldn't let them leave and that he would be waiting for the company to arrive, but not alone. When Lars regained consciousness, he saw the natives trying to eat him alive, but he quickly stood up and tried to escape, but unfortunately, he was captured and eaten right there. Daniel and Justine left the camp and noticed they were close to the construction site. It was already night, and they ended up reaching the plane crash site, where they found a phone, but the battery was dead. They heard a phone ringing and discovered it was Kara's deceased phone. Justine reached out to grab it, but both were captured again and returned to the village. Daniel was tied to a tree, and his limbs and arms were broken. He was left to be eaten by ants. Justine was also painted and dressed in their native attire. When the native leader was about to circumcise Justine, she was distracted by the news of the arriving construction workers. The news left them uneasy, and soon they left for the hunt. Justine, with the help of a child with whom she had made friends by playing flute with her necklace, escaped. Justine went to the place where Daniel was tied to rescue him, but Daniel told her to get his phone and kill him. The child ended up killing Daniel when Justine couldn't. Alejandro begged Justine to let him out, but Justine refused and fled. A bit away from the village, the child wanted to return Justine's necklace, but she gave the necklace to the child as a way of thanking them for saving her, and then she set off alone. Justine found the militia in a struggle with the natives. She told them she was American and that she had filmed their struggles. The militia chief made her break the phone after the fight, which led to the death of most of the natives. Justine was rescued, and after that, she began her safe return to New York, and as Alejandro screamed for help, the helicopter left the village. Back home, Justine lied to her father and some other investigators, saying that all the students died in the plane crash. She told them that the natives saved her, otherwise, she would be dead too. She added that the natives heard the plane crash and found her. She said they guided her out of the jungle and that she never experienced hostility during her stay with the natives. Days later, Justine had a terrible dream in which Alejandro also came out of the jungle. Lucia, his sister, called Justine saying she found a satellite photo that looked like her brother, so they needed to talk.